disappointment because it so deviates from everything the president said. He's walking the walk, he's talking the talk, but this plan shows he is not walking the walk.
So just to be clear, you believe that the plan as it stands right now, with still a lot of details missing, would raise taxes on lower income Americans?
It raises the rates on lower income families. If you're a family of four, you pay more because you lose the individual deductions for each individual. If you're from a state where you have relatively high taxes, you lose the state and local. Yes, a large percentage of middle-class families would pay more taxes. Looking at this plan, I think almost every wealthy family would get a big break.
Senator, the unemployment, I guess, about 4.3% or whatever it is, seeming relatively low. You might make the argument that the middle class doesn't necessarily need a tax cut either.
Ask them.
Well, my question is, what do you think the middle class actually wants?
I think, first of all, if you talk to middle-class folks, they do not want tax breaks for the very wealthy, and they do not want tax breaks for the big corporations. They want some relief themselves, and that's what should have been done in this plan. As I said, the president talked the talk. He said, we're going to aim this at the middle class. He ain't walking the walk. This is aimed at the wealthiest people in America. They do far and away the best.
Do they want tax simplification?
What is your message to the three Democrats who didn't sign your letter and who Trump thinks will come and work?
The three Democrats have all talked about fiscal responsibility, not increasing the deficit. This is a $5 trillion hole in the deficit. The three Democrats, I believe, think tax should go to the middle class. There are things that we could agree on. We believe small business should get some kind of tax break. We could look at that. But I believe even the three Democrats who didn't sign this bill are going to look at this plan and have a lot of problems with it.
There was some language about making sure in the committees that the pass-through rate didn't apply to the wealthy. Do you take that at face value? Do you think it's possible?
It's not in their plan. It's not in their plan. And here's the amazing thing. So you're a big hedge fund or a fancy law firm. You'll pay no corporate tax. And then, instead of paying an individual rate of 39.6 or even in this plan of 35, you pay 25. It's a dramatic, huge trillion-dollar tax break for the wealthiest. For the wealthiest. Middle-class people can't take advantage of this.
Leader, could I just add a point
Yeah, please,
on
please.
pass-through? Let me tell you what's happened in the committee, in the Finance Committee. We began pointing out the inequity of this pass-through provision months and months ago. We were told by the Secretary of Treasury that it would be corrected. It has been months since they said they would correct it. That was the first thing I looked at today. I said, well, they're doing something else. Maybe, just maybe, they're going to honor the pledge that they made months ago to correct it. They still haven't, number one. And number two, we just received testimony recently in the Senate Finance Committee that it is very, very hard, if not impossible, to stop the ripoffs in the kind of proposal that they have, in effect, laid out once more today.
Look, the bottom line is just about everything that the President, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, Gary Cohn have said is not embodied in this plan. They hope they can talk one way and fool the American people. We're not going to let them. And this plan is our best ammunition that what they say and what they're doing are different. And in the next few months, we are going to be talking about this every day. And the American people are not going to like this plan when they learn of it.
So what do you do? Is there room for negotiation? Talk to the White House?
Well, first of all, our letter said three things. No tax breaks for the 1%. They violated that. Second, don't increase the deficit. They violated that. And third, let's do things in a bipartisan way, which I think every one of the Democrats, 45 plus 3, all agree with on working together. I think they realize, just like with health care, that what they're doing is so out of the mainstream. Their wealthy contributors and donors love it. The hard right loves it. that if they went to reconciliation, they'd have to move the plan somewhat to the middle and somewhat to help the middle class, because that's where Democrats are, and they'd have to forsake their big contributors, Koch brothers, and everybody like that. And so they don't want to do that. The problem is, they think they can, if they think they can fool people, they're not going to succeed. The plan is totally different than what they say about the plan. Yeah. You feel free to.
Just going back to that question of, no deductions for state and local taxes.
Yes.
When you look at the healthcare plan, and there was a Medicaid redistribution element that
Yes.
went against the New Yorks and Connecticut's and so on. I'm just wondering, do you see some kind of a geographical red state, blue state fault line at work here?
Well, I do see some of that, but here's the problem. There are, particularly in the House, there are a whole lot of Republican congressmen who come from districts that are going to be very adversely affected. And let's say, take Long Island. You have a family, it's a teacher and a police officer. Their income's about $150,000. But they pay between their property tax and their income tax a lot. If they don't get the deduction, doubling the standard deduction is not going to make up for it or come close to it. So my guess is you're going to have 30, 40, 50 Congress members, Republican, who say, I can't vote for this because it raises taxes on my core constituency. That's the lesson they learned in '86. I was part of it.
I would add to the leader's point that we heard in the committee, number one, members are already talking about how this could be seen as double taxation. And of course, Republicans see that as a fundamental principle of the Senate Republican economic thinking. That's number one. And number two, as the leader said, this is not breaking into just a blue state, red state kind of issue. We're going to see in big swaths of the country, not just one or two places, we're going to see lots of folks who are paying pretty significant local taxes, and they're going to be saying not so fast, especially when they look at some of these other things.
Yes.
So you compare this a little bit to healthcare, but healthcare is kind of a visceral, personal thing that people interact with on a more daily basis.
Yep.
And taxes tend to be something that people feel confused
Okay,
by.
but here's what I'd say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how you keep this in a conversation about making
Okay,
it personal.
look, in talking to people around my state and looking at the surveys, if you ask people on an issue-by-issue basis, what's the number one thing they want? Reduction in drug cost prices. Number two, no tax cuts for the wealthy. People viscerally care about it. The old Republican plan, which they used to do, George Bush did it, give a small little break to the middle class and a huge break for the wealthy. In 2016, that doesn't work anymore.
Kelsey, on that point, because the leader is saying what we all hear is that people say, how does this relate to me, a hard-working middle-class family? So, when Republicans propose increasing the standard deduction and at the same time eliminate the personal and dependent exemptions, you're going to have a lot of families, particularly the large ones, and the Republicans say that they're the champions of family values. Those folks are going to have a net tax increase.
Yes.
And what the leader and I are saying is out there where we go to our communities, we both go to the communities and all over our state, people are going to start taking out a little sharp pencil here. If they're a middle-class person, and with the numbers that the leader and I have laid out, a whole lot of those middle-class folks, particularly the ones with big families, are going to pay more.
It's pretty visceral when you're a middle-class person and this tax bill wants to raise your taxes $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. That's as visceral as health care, and it's going to affect as many middle-class people as health care. And one other thing, and I think people are aware of this, Social Security and Medicare are at risk in a plan like this. Because if you're going to so dramatically increase the deficit, then Social Security and Medicare are going to be under far greater risk, and that's what Republicans have done. Right after George Bush did a massive tax cut, he then said, let's cut Social Security. We have a big deficit. Thank you, everybody.